Senator Slotkin.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Feinberg. It was good to talk to you in my office. I think there was a lot of things that we can agree on. Acquisition reform, if someone can crack that code, we'd be so much safer and so much better off vis-a-vis China, getting China out of our supply chains for national security reasons. So I think there's a lot of things where I appreciated your views. My questions, as again, I previewed in our conversation, are just about you managing the Pentagon and managing this huge enterprise, and particularly in basically you serving as the chief operating officer of, one of the biggest institutions in the world, and allowing others outside the Pentagon to access sensitive information. I'm a CIA officer, so I'm putting these pieces together and what we've seen. And, I just have to say that, we know that DOGE is going into departments and agencies collecting data. We know that they are using AI-supported software, accessed through the Microsoft Cloud, to amalgamate that data. We know that they are feeding sensitive information into that system where they go, and that's information can be manipulated, swept up in cyber attacks, leaked. It's personnel information, it's sensitive information about our national security architecture. And we know that DOGE has reportedly brought in their own servers, particularly into OPM, in order to handle this data. Mr. Hegseth has said that he welcomes DOGE into the Pentagon. We know that they have started to look at places like CIA because they just sent an unclassified email with CIA recent hire names in an unclassified space. As a former CIA officer, you just blew the cover of someone who was going to risk their life abroad to protect our country. So my question to you is, what are you going to do when they come to you and they ask for that data? Will you give DOGE access to sensitive, classified, and personnel data of uniformed military bases and locations across the world?
Yeah, as deputy, if I make it there, we have to follow the laws, and we can't allow classified data that is not legal to be in other people's hands to move. So we'll look at the laws closely. We'll make sure that transfer, if it happens, is done by the appropriate ways. Now, of course, the president can decide what is classified and what isn't, and he can declassify. So, of course, always subject to what the president wants to do and his wishes. However, I think it is our job to look at this carefully and make sure it's done properly.
So separate from classified information, although you've stated that the president can just declassify things, will you give access to DOGE to sensitive personnel information about our uniformed military and families, particularly living abroad?
Make sure that all the necessary laws and regulations are met.
I just think, maybe it's because I come from the national security world. Do you know how appetizing it is for our adversaries to have this data? Do you know how appetizing it is for them to understand how to get at a uniformed officer living in a dangerous place? It just is, it's not for me actually a political issue. It is quite literally an issue of safety and security. And as someone who have served abroad, this is, to me, an issue of major vulnerability.
Senator, I will say, to your point, that in my past, I've had compartmentalized programs and access for a long time. So I understand the issue completely. I understand your concerns, and I will look at it closely. I
just think that I don't doubt your interest. But again, these are the conversations that are going to happen in the dead of night when no one here in our committee is watching. You're going to get a call at 7 p.m. that a bunch of 25-year-olds who have never seen classified data in their life, who don't understand what personnel and base data could do in the hands of our adversaries are going to get a hold of that, and they're going to come to you, and you're going to have to press the button. And all I have to say is we are counting on you, and our national security is counting on you to push back, have a spine, and say no.
Understand the issue.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Slotkin. Senator Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.